What's up, good people? Bishop John Ramsey, Dr. Alicia Ramsey, and you are in the family room.
Now, have you subscribed to our channel? Many of you, thank you so much for sharing, telling people about the family room. If you are new, welcome. We are so glad you're here. Now I need you to subscribe.
It's going to be a great podcast on today. We got an incredible subject, don't you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's one that's needed.
But before we do that, have you sent emails? Now, we're going to be on you about this. Every time you come onto the family room, we're going to ask you, did you send us an email?
Yeah. And also, if you watch something that you think is relevant for someone you know and care about, send that video to them. Just forward it to them, and they can be blessed and encouraged, hopefully.
Yeah, so you look at our email address and then send us a question or something you may want to know about or a topic, especially if you're watching this as a couple. Maybe you're an engaged couple, newly married couple, or a seasoned couple, and you're like, I want them to hit bonus children. I want them to hit, a new season in your career. I want them to hit, transitioning to a new location or losing a father or a mother. How do you adjust in relationships to that? So any topic that you can think of, please email it to us and we'll do our best to adjust to it. But today we're going to talk about something.
We're going to talk about how to affair-proof your marriage. And there's some principles that we will give you that we think that we implement in our own marriage and we think has played a vital role in us being able to maintain faithfulness for 30 years.
Right.
So why don't you open the discussion up?
Well, we always come from a Christian-proof standpoint. So we're not psychologists, we're not therapists, we're not, certified in counseling, but we are spiritual advisors, JR Ministries, faith, family, and finances. So this is something we teach, this is something we preach, and this is something we live by. So here recently, we were scrolling through social media like many of you, and we saw a situation where at a Coldplay concert for Super Saints, that is a rock group. So they were at this concert. So for many of you, you may have been at, like if you were at a New Edition concert or if you were at the Beyonce concert. There was a man that was there, and he was caught on the kiss cam with embracing a woman. Mm-hmm. Well, the situation is that was not his wife. So both were married. I'm pretty sure both were married, and they were caught with each other. So she was the CPO. So that's a new fancy word for HR.
Yeah. Chief
People Officer, and he was the CEO of the company. And they were caught on this Tron. And then the singer from Coldplay, because of their reaction. So like if they would have just played it off,
she turned and tried to hide.
She tried to hide her face. Yeah. And mascots have been mocking this, all over social media, but the Coldplay singer was like, now either they are having an affair or da-da-da-da. And sure enough, over 40 million views.
40 million views. And it just goes to show that sometimes, I don't know that they're believers or not, but sometimes even as believers, I think we can take grace too far. And if you don't have the proper interpretation of what the grace of God is, you'll think that the grace of God is a license to sin.
I think it's just the boldness.
Oh yeah, to have that kind of boldness.
Yeah, so it's not like now they're bold with these things.
Yeah.
And going out and in the open. It's not right either way, but just the boldness to be at a concert. And maybe they thought because they were in the suite or whatever, I don't know, that it wouldn't come to this. But when we talk about suggestions on how to affair-proof your marriage, okay, the first thing that people really need to do is understand what?
Boundaries.
Okay, because the relationship has a covenant.
Yeah, the relationship is founded upon a covenant.
Yeah.
There are some people that inaccurately believe that marriage is nothing but a piece of paper.
Right.
It's way more than a piece of paper. It's a covenant. And there's a difference in the Bible when you have a biblical marriage. There's a difference in the Bible between a license and a covenant. In covenant, there were a lot of rituals that they went through to establish a covenant with someone, whether it was a friend, whether it was someone that's going to be close to the family, whatever it was. And one of the things that they did in that ritual was that they would cut their hands. The hand would bleed, the other one would cut their hand, and they would shake, and the blood would mingle together. That means that our covenant is inseparable. When the Bible says, therefore shall a man leave his mother and father, cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. The interesting word in that verse is cleave. The word cleave means to glue together like cement. It's almost like if I took two pieces of paper and glued them together. The only way you can get them apart is to tear them. And that's what happens in divorce. There's a tearing of the soul. There's a tearing of the emotions. And then there's an aftermath that comes with it.
So one of the first things we suggest is when it comes to affair proofing your marriage, except it is a covenant, not a contract. So like I was saying, it's not a contract. It is a covenant.
Right.
And what I heard a pastor say once is that it's interesting that we go before God to, consummate this marriage, to, seal this marriage with a covenant, but then we go to the courthouse to end it. So people, a lot of times they won't come to their pastor, the pastor who married them or the bishop who married them. They won't come to them to get counseling and to work through the situation. They immediately go to the court system.
And I think that's a good point that you just brought up, because that made me think about this. The majority of the couples that we work with and counsel and encourage at our church, one of the first questions I ask them is, did you get counseling, pre-marriage counseling, before you got married? And
why is that so hard?
I don't know, but the majority of them that have critical problems, I always know the answer, and the answer is no. So there are things that we go through in marriage that are avoidable if you just let someone speak some wisdom, not your cousin and Pookie and all of them, but I mean getting some spiritual authority, spiritual leadership, whether that be someone on the staff of the church, whether that be the pastor himself or herself. But making sure that you put those pieces in place, because what that does is safeguards the marriage. And it also confirms whether you even need to be getting married.
Yeah, you and I got premarital counseling.
Sure did.
You were a senior pastor. We weren't bringing any kids into the marriage. We weren't sleeping together before we got married. We weren't living together before we got married. And we still got marital counseling.
Exactly.
It is important to do. So accepting that it's a covenant. Second, this is a good one that I like us to talk about. The connection. Realize that you have to protect the connection. So accept the covenant and protect the connection. You like this one too, because you be going in when you do marriage counseling.
Do I really?
But you need to do that.
Yeah.
You're talking about putting up healthy boundaries and understanding you have to protect this connection.
Yeah.
So what is it that people need to do, or some things you can suggest to protect the connection?
Well, the first thing I would say is that you have to establish boundaries that both parties are aware of, both parties have communicated about, to safeguard your marriage. Doesn't mean somebody's insecure.
Right.
It just means that you care about your marriage enough to set boundaries as to how you're going to function away from your spouse.
Yes.
And so we've talked about that quite a bit.
Right. Social media. Making sure that no one can slide into your DMs. You don't slide into anyone's DMs. That each one of you have access to each other's, social media accounts. Because then this new generation, that is one of the ways that we see a lot in relationships, that there's a problem because of social media. And if one person has a problem with social media, you have to come to a negotiation.
And even if you get something slipped in your DM, you ought to share that with your spouse.
Yeah.
And tell them what you did to rectify the thing, that I blocked it, or whatever the case might be.
Right.
This is what happened. So there's not even room for insecurity to come in, or fear or concern on his or her part.
Something you talk about a lot: work wives and work husbands.
You got to stop that stuff. I mean, what's crazy about it to me is that somebody can come up with a cliche, and because they think it sounds good,
Right.
they think it's actually true. But to literally call somebody, when you're married, your work wife, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes, definitely, from the power of the tongue.
And so you really got to watch that. That's not your work wife. That's your coworker. That's someone that works for you, or whatever the scenario is. So fix your mouth, fix your language as it relates to statements like that. And that's going to help the marriage as well.
Right. And phone etiquette. So if
Yeah.
you always like this on your phone, and every time your phone is down, it's like that on the table, and you he could get in my phone at any time. I mean, half the time my kids have the phone. It was interesting because when we were in New Orleans at the conference, our daughter, she didn't have her phone at that time. So she had my phone literally the whole week. And there's nothing on my phone that, she can't see that. I mean, there's nobody calling my phone that shouldn't be calling my phone. I didn't need it. I didn't have to have it, but it's interesting because your calendar, everything's on there. So I was disconnected for a while, but it's a problem. I can have your phone at any time.
At any time. We know each other's codes for everything. Every single thing that's electronic. I know her codes. She knows mine. She got access to it anytime that she wants. And the thing about it is, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, she can pick up my phone and go through all of the contacts that she wants to. And I got no problem with that because I don't have anything suspicious in there. I don't send responses to, a lot of times, to women through social media and stuff. I just don't do that because sometimes you can open up a door that wasn't there before.
Right.
Let me give you another one too. Saved people do this even all the time. They'll say, well, that's my friend. If you are married, you cannot be buddies with another man.
Right. It's our friends.
It's either our friends or it's no friends.
It's no friends.
You can't do that. You can't do that. Anything that you wouldn't want your spouse doing if you were around. If you got to do it when your spouse is not around, then something's wrong with what you're doing. And you got to ask yourself, would she be pleased with this? Would he be pleased with this?
Right.
And if the answer is no, you got to cut that.
Because his friends are my friends. He has access to my friends just like I have access to his friends. Because there have been times where we've tagged in our friends, to do different things together. Our friends support us on different things. So we're not telling you not to have friendships, but you should not be friends with someone that your spouse doesn't know, have access to, and doesn't have a relationship with. That is not appropriate.
And if you're not married to them, they shouldn't have your number.
But babe, you can't say that because some people work with.
Okay, well,
if
it's a work deal,
people work.
Okay,
from
I get
home
it.
And their boss.
I get it.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be getting no calls at midnight.
Well, yeah, it's like. Yeah.
So I erase that part. Y'all got to delete that part. But the point is that you have to guard and use wisdom.
Yes.
With who you give your number to and how it's even used.
Definitely. So we're going to pause for a moment. So what we're talking about is how to affair-proof your relationship. And we've talked about accept the covenant, protect the connection, and we want to check up on your hobby. How is your hobby doing? Work hard, play hard segment. He's taking his hobby to the next level. It's like, going to the next level.
Yeah, it's going to the next level, y'all. I was like, I got a little bit carried away. But I got a 3-ball bag. I got my balls in there, different ones, do different things. But the truth of the matter is I'm still terrible with all 3 of them. But I'm learning. I'm getting it together.
So we went from no bowling balls to now we have 3 bowling balls.
3. Only 3.
We have our own shoes. We have our own bag.
Because I told you, I'm not putting my feet in no house shoes.
I understand that. He's real serious about it. And now he has brought in other people into his hobby.
Oh yeah, I found some brothers that like to roll.
After church Sunday, I'm like, the bishop he didn't come. He came home, showered, and went to go bowl. I'm like, I'm not mad.
And I never do that. Normally I come home and pass out.
And he go to sleep. So Juice was like, I said, let's go get something to eat. Dad's going to bowl. She's like, oh, okay. And then you met our son there. I met you at the bowling alley, picked up the grandson, and you and our son, went bowl. So he is really getting into his hobby. So congrats to you, and we're going to keep updating you on how that is going.
All right.
I'm still not bowling because I love my nails. Sorry. But we will find a hobby to do.
I told her there's 2-handed bowlers.
Man, I don't want to look like that. Don't even look right. People do that. So work hard.
I don't know how it works, but it's too
segment. Now, to conclude our conversation on how to affair-proof your marriage or your relationship. So the first one we said was, accept that it is a covenant. Second, protect the connection. Third, realize there's consequences.
Yeah. The Bible says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we understand that there are some things that is possible for you to reap. You can make one bad decision, go outside of your marriage. You can make one bad decision, and it can cost you 15 years, the next 15 years of your life, trying to undo what that one decision did to you. So we really have to operate in wisdom as it relates to that.
You do. And we have seen people come back from relationship trauma. We've seen people make it through affairs. We've seen people make it through things that you would have think most people could not have done it.
We really
There was a time when people are like, oh, she cheats on me, he cheats on me, we're done. Okay. there are people that have been able to work through that. But one thing that I love about what you share with people in their counseling sessions is giving time to restore the trust.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not the restoration of trust.
Yeah.
That is something you share all the time. Giving each person time to restore the trust. But there are consequences. The consequences are they may not trust you leaving the house by yourself.
Can I give an example on that?
Yeah, sure.
One example of that is that there was a time I counseled a couple years and years ago, and he had cheated, and he admitted that when he came into office. She was a little bit emotional at the time, which she had all the right to be, but he was mad. And I said, "What are you angry about?" I said, "You're the one that cheated, right? What are you angry about?" He said, "Well, she said she forgive me, and then sometimes we could be at home watching a movie, everything's going fine, and she just go off." I said, "Well, how long did you cheat?" And he gave me the answer to that, like 2 years. I said, "Well, shouldn't she at least have as long as you cheated to deal with this thing emotionally?"
Right.
Therefore, you're gonna get bursts of emotion from time to time because she's trying to process it so she can actually forgive you and move forward in this marriage and not end it.
Yes. So we want to make sure that you are aware there are resources available. If you are going through a difficult time in your marriage, if you are trying to come back from an affair situation or an adulterous situation, we want you to use the tools that are available. And one of the tools that we would like to recommend is one of your books.
Yeah.
And which book would you recommend to them?
Biblical Keys to Maximize Your Marriage.
Yes.
Biblical Keys, that's the latest one on marriage. And I think that book will really be strong and help you, just understand, come up with concepts, come up with what's going to work for your marriage and your house, and then be able to move forward from that. Because the marriages that are the most vulnerable are the ones that don't have a plan in place. And what I mean plan in place is the things that we talked about today.
Yeah, so share this podcast with someone that you know is going through a difficult time. You can see the link on where to get our book on Amazon, and it is also available if you visit New Life Worship Center in your Indianapolis. When you see us doing marriage retreats, we take product with us there. But I am excited about you investing in yourself and in your relationship. So remember, when it comes to affair proof in your relationship, you have to accept the covenant, protect the connection, and realize there's consequences. Well, I'm Dr. Alicia Ramsey.
Bishop John F. Ramsey Sr., and you have watched The Family Room.